Welcome to the Richmond Film Network Podcast, your all-access pass to the world of independent cinema. Each week, we go beyond the credits and sit down with the creatives who turn vision into reality. Tune in weekly to find out who's on the RFN pod.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Richmond Film Network Podcast. My name is Lisa Giles, and we are here today with Anastasia Listopadova, producer and composer for the film The Path to Enigma, written and directed by Max Gladkov. Anastasia, thank you for being with us today.
Hello, and thank you for having me tonight. It's a big pleasure and honor for the whole team of the film to present it here.
In your own words, can you tell us what The Path to Enigma is all about?
It's difficult to deliver that without making a spoiler, but this is a very multi-layered film about inner battle with their inner monster. In a simple words, it's about a guy who has a mental disease and he has to run over young women, and he's hospitalized and he undergoes a treatment. But then he finds himself in the evil hands of his own therapist. And from here, I cannot say any more without making a spoiler.
It's so bold and surreal and psychological. What would you say was the inspiration for making this film for Max?
It's a very long story because I asked him when I was assigned to the film, and we met when he only had a script in development, and it was his first film. And I asked him, like, what is behind, like, this is so bold, this is so weird, and the topic is so deep and strange, like it's too much for the first film. Like, what goes in your head, like what's wrong with you, basically. That was what I asked him, because I thought it was a personal story. But then he said that he grew up in a very small provincial town in Russia, and he witnessed a lot of weirdos and people with obvious mental problems all of his life, all of his childhood. And he was thrilled to know what brought them there to that condition and what's going on in their mind. And he was really curious. So for him, it was kind of discovery, and he tried to study the subject. He read some books on psychiatry. And then when he was older, he saw some conversation on TED Talks, the conference, and some lady was delivering a talk on people with all kind of phobias and mental conditions. And he heard a story about a guy who had a sexual disorder, and he had to crash his car into a wall. And only then he was satisfied. And this was so weird that he remembered that. And he said that same night, he saw a dream where he, as a viewer, saw somebody, like a bad guy, trying to assault a lady through the hole in the wall. And then he woke up and combined these two beats in one story. Like from there, the plot arose. And when we shoot the film, there was a big gap between the shooting days because we ran out of money. And there was something like half year between the last day of the shooting and the previous one. And at that time period, Max had a girlfriend, and it turned out that she had some problem. So in the end, she was really hospitalized in a mental institution. And I'm not sure if she's released or maybe she's still under treatment. And from there, it became really personal to him. So it's like the reality and his fantasies and, working on the film drew himself into kind of setting that he met somebody who had a kind of obsession. And this is really personal in the end for him.
That is absolutely fascinating. Fascinating. And I love that the approach to the film, to me, feels unique and different as these conditions are that's presented in the film. It's presented without judgment, and it's presented without, it's not scandalous and over the top. It is what it is. And I know that in some of the materials that I read, that Max's goal was to make this a sort of statement about mental health and the systems that fail people in mental health. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's a huge topic, and maybe this is the theme that made film somewhat successful internationally. Because Max lives in Russia, he wrote this in Russia. I'm now in Los Angeles. I live in downtown LA. If it tells you something, I'm on the streets of Skid Row, and I'm literally like 4 or 5 blocks from the area where people live in tents outside.
Mm.
But during the day, all of them, they come like to hang out at my house. And I can see all these people every day. And most of them, they obviously need some help. And when I came here, I asked myself and the people, Americans, like, why? And like, what's going on here? Because I have never seen stuff like that anywhere. And I was told that most of these people actually they have some kind of mental condition,
Mhm.
that it comes not from the poverty that they are outside, but they really have some issues, and there is something in the system that or they are not taken care of, or if they don't want to be taken care of, nobody can help them. So like there is some kind of institutional issue behind that. And in Russia it's a little bit different, and people maybe are not that, I would say, colorful and artistic in the way they behave outside if they have some conditions. But still, you can also see that there are many, and what brought them there. Maybe it's political situation, or all kind of changes that Russia went through, like after a breakup of USSR and wars and anything. And also, like nobody helps them, and like this problem kind of doesn't exist because there is a lot of shame about that, and people just pretend it's not there. And I think Max did a great job trying to speak for those people without making it too straightforward. Like he doesn't have a big, motto in the film about that, but he subtly hints on that. And also the main character, he doesn't have a home, like he's somewhere, right? He's placed somewhere. And Max also told me about that he thinks that there is something connected between like mental uncured problems and homelessness. And what I see now in the United States, I think it's really the thing. If we also go to San Francisco, for example, New York, it really exists. And that's why I think that this film raises something really huge and important.
I totally agree. I think in addressing the issues, there is a balance between horror. The condition is horrifying. It's horrifying, but there's also a sense of handling it with humanity and restraint. And not only as a piece of art, as the film, but that makes me wonder how this was handled during the filmmaking and how it was handled with honesty and care in producing a piece of art with people taking part in this and bringing that to the screen. Can you talk about that?
Yes, I agree. Yeah, it is horrifying, but maybe it's not a real horror. Though there is something ominous about that, and the setting that is macabre, and human beings are being treated maybe like a cabinet of curiosities, samples, or like a case study in the beginning. But the director really tended to lean into the humanity, and I think he built a very elegant and beautiful arc from this horrifying condition to breaking through. And what we see by the end of the film, like he literally goes out, outside from this closed space. I think the character, the actor, did a great job. He had something about himself that you cannot write in the scripts, and I think you cannot direct that. But he really existed, like methods he used, I think Stanislavski, that he really lived his part. He wasn't performing, and he brought with him this human quality. And when the final battle happens, I think there is a great transition when he finally defeats his inner monster, and we see his healing. But his healing is not straightforward. It's controversial. We see that it's painful, but maybe this is what is real humanity is. Like it's real. It's not Disney.
Well, as heavy as that subject matter is I want to ask, is he okay? To go to go to this place in a method kind of way? I mean, you have to go to some darkness to get that and to do it so honestly as he pulls it off on screen. So I hope he's okay.
He's okay. And you know what? When he came to the spot, he had some inner desire to go wild. And, it looked like it was a very interesting role for him. Like he had something desperate and he needed this space to take it out, and to be free. And to go deep maybe in this darkness because it's not a comedy series and it's not a normal TV film that maybe he's hired for. So I think he enjoyed that and he created a lot what wasn't written. And I want to add about this guy, like he's here on the picture. His name is Semyon Litvinov. He's a rising star now in Russia. After our film and after several other projects, he was starring in a huge blockbuster with a great budget. It's a studio film. And he did one of the main roles together with Yuri Borisov. Yuri Borisov was nominated this year for Academy Awards for his part in Anora. And the film is premiering next year in February. And I think Semyon will be a big star after that. And we are very happy for him. And we are very proud that we had him in our film before all this started for him.
You can say you discovered him.
No, we didn't discover him, but we are happy that, still he wasn't that famous. And it was kind of, really enjoyment and teamwork. And he contributed a lot. And now we see that his talent also gets big recognition. We are really happy for him.
Would you like to talk about the other cast members, the gentleman who plays the therapist and the woman who plays the neighbor?
The lady who played the neighbor, it was her first role. I think she wasn't a professional actor. And after making this film, she decided to be a director. She liked so much what went, on the spot that she wanted to be a director. And the therapist, the actor who performed the therapist, his last name is Korotkov. Actually, he's quite a famous actor and he mostly plays supporting roles, but in many TV series, like here and there, he's quite recognizable. And it's funny, like I also had him in another film I did as a composer. So he's a working actor. I think he was the most professional from all of the team on the spot.
Okay. I've read that Max's among his inspirations were David Lynch, Tarkovsky, Fincher, M. Night Shyamalan. Were any of those directors influential in how this piece was crafted?
I think he didn't mention one of the most biggest influences, and this is Christopher Nolan. I think he forgot about that. But if you see the way the space and like layers of reality are treated, and like there is kind of loop of reality, so you don't really understand if it happens in the head of the main character or if it's a real place. And only when you see the film till the end, then you understand, maybe it was like that, or maybe it wasn't. So I need to rewatch and understand, like in Memento or in Inception. So I think this was the main influence. Aesthetically, maybe it's closer to Lynch. I don't know. And for the music, I didn't have any reference. I was free. But I think maybe there is something like from Twin Peaks vibe in that. Though I didn't, intend to copy anything or to recreate somebody's style.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's segue into that topic of the music and your scoring of the picture. Can you talk about that process? At what point do you start creating, and how does that collaboration look as it develops?
It was very funny because Max was looking for money. And he was going through a friends list of one famous producer. And he was contacting everybody there. And he also texted me and asked for support. And I said, like, I was an emerging composer. I said, yeah, I can help you with music. I will not give you money. I will make music. And then it started. And it was only the beginning. And it was only the script. And he sent me the script and he was very inspired. And like we talked about the story a lot. But it was a lot of time since we have started discussing the draft till it was created. And when we came to the music, Max already sent the film to some festival in Russia. And the film wasn't finished, but they did accept, on the stage of the development. And they took him to the selection. And he called me and he said, like, in 1 week, we have a deadline for the festival. And I said to him, like, are you okay? Like, things like that, like talking for 3 years and then saying me in the middle of the summer that you have 1 week for a festival. It means also mixing, sound design.
Yeah.
So I had very little time for that.
Yeah.
And then DCP and all the things. So I couldn't deliver in 1 week. I should have delivered really fast. But maybe because we talked so much and I had this sound image already, I just had to sit and figure it out. So this is how we started.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about your background in music composition?
My path to music wasn't straightforward and it wasn't fast. My parents were really against me going into anything creative or artistic. And I was born in Russia, and there you should be really raised as an artist. So if you don't go to any public school connected to art at the age of 7, then you have no chance to go to conservatory or something like that. So you will never be a professional. And I also had pitch issues. So I didn't have the pitch. I couldn't sing without making it false if I heard something. So I did music as a hobbyist. I had a private teacher for piano. I took lessons. Maybe in the end I developed the pitch, but I never had any music theory classes or something. And I had to do that on my own. So when I grew up and I really wanted to compose, I took private classes. I did a lot of self-study. And what really helped me, it was Berkeley Online, where you could do a degree, without being in Boston. And I did music for film and TV in Berkeley at the bachelor level. And then I was admitted to USC screen scoring program here in LA. And it's like one of the world's best programs in film music. And this was kind of a turning point. Like I saw myself more seriously after that. And it was a great experience. We had head-on practice in all the big studios in Los Angeles, like at Warner Bros. At the scoring stage. And we met a lot of musicians that work in Hollywood. And the training we got there, it allows you to deliver the full cycle of the score, like from composing to the mix, to the supervising, to music prep, organizing the recording sessions, conducting yourself. So it was really a huge program. When working on the score, I used several tools. Max wanted to create this kind of timeless limbo, the space where the main character exists. And I thought that we cannot have really organic sounds because still it's kind of twisted and a little bit toxic. So we cannot have real instruments there. And I used sound palettes mostly with the kind of mallets and bells, since that sounded like maybe they had some bell quality, but they were not really bells. And I twisted them and I created a huge palette from one sound. And it took a lot of sound design. So I had like maybe 30 layers for one sound for each scene. And the only time we had a kind of acoustic instrument was the opening theme, because I wanted to have some hint of on humanity that exists in the main character, that he still has the hope to cure and to be a normal person. And we recorded a real pianist remotely. It's a guy who was a soloist of a philharmonic in Russia. And he had to leave the country because of his political views. And now he lives in Berlin. So he did a great recording. And after I played with that in the sequencer, so it still was revoked in kind of synth sound with the bell timbre underneath. And it was something like in between. So if we talk about limbo, it's not here and not there. And so the main theme was also, it was like a piano, but then it wasn't a real piano. And I used a time measure that is not that ordinary. It's in between 3/4 that's like a waltz, and a 4/4 that's like, pop music, regular beat. So I used the 7/8. So it's really like you don't have 1/8, one small beat to 4/4. And it created this kind of, maybe a little bit wobbling and shaking vibe. So it's kind of not straightforward. It's or something lacking or something a little bit of too much than from 3/4. And I used this in the opening, and I think it really introduced us into this strange world that the main character exists. And when we went to the fight scene, there Max wanted to go to genre to make it more straightforward, more direct. So we went from this illusional world where the main character is kind of hostage, like inside his disease. We went to something more real when he really takes some action and fights his dark double. And then we completely changed the sound palette. We used percussion. We used very aggressive samples. It was it was harsh, and also it was the place for Max's concept of combining art and mainstream. So the whole introduction, it was kind of art, and musically it was art. And when we went to this fight and to the climax and to the final scene, then the music became more, let's say, pop or easily digested. It was like clearly action combat scene. And the last soundtrack that was written by the sound mixer, actually, it's like a real song. It's guitar, it's has some rock atmosphere, and was really straightforward. And symbolically, it's brought us to the reality. So the arc was shaped also on the subliminally, also on musical level, like working with the sound palette and real and synthesized instruments. And yeah.
Anastasia, you have given me chill. I have chills going down my arms. That right there, that's why we watch movies over and over and over again. It's like when we get this kind of insight and we know what the story behind the creation, and it's like, okay, let me watch this again. Let me see if I catch that this time. That is why. Oh, oh, I'm so glad that you added this part to this conversation. That's amazing. I am watching this as soon as we get off this podcast. I'm watching it
Oh,
again.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, I literally chills down my arms hearing that. I love the geeky stories behind,
It's very geeky.
to hear the creators talk about these, technical
The
things.
team is very geeky. I talked to everybody because I wanted to speak from the whole team, not only for myself and for Max.
Amazing. Okay. Now, we didn't address why Max isn't here. Would you like to talk about that?
Max is not here because he lives in Moscow. He is not fluent in English. We have also, I think now, something about like between 10 to 7 hours difference in the middle of the night. And he really trusts me to speak for the film because also as a co-producer, I'm engaged a lot in the promotion, in festivals, talking to all kind of people. And he really relies on me in that sense.
Well, I'm so glad that we have you.
Thank you. I'm glad you have me as well.
So can we talk a little bit about the budget and how you're able to do this film with the budget that you had at your disposal?
Yeah, this I think was one of the most toughest issues. So the film was only crowd-funded, and Max used his own money, and the money was over after the third day of shooting.
Out of how many total days?
They had 4.
Okay.
So on the first day, they planned to have the car crash, but between the shoot, they also had to prepare, and I think we'll talk about that separately, the way they organized the car crash scene. So it was outdoor, the rest was indoor. The budget went to building the spots because it wasn't a studio. They found some kind of mansion outside of Moscow. It was like an abandoned place, but it was rented for all kind of shootings, like maybe kind of loft. They were not happy with how it looked because they had really a strong reference for visuals. And so the production designer built himself like a handyman, everything inside this kind of building. And Max also helped him. So two of them were just, building and reconstructing the place. It took them like, I think 12 days. So most of the money went to this part, then to the light and technical equipment. And the huge thing was the car and all this outdoor shooting. So they wanted to buy the car, like something in the very bad condition that you can really crash that. And then it was expensive and they have no money already on the stage of the plan and the budget. But when they did the 3 days of shooting, the money finished completely. I don't remember why. Maybe they had extra hours or something went wrong. So they left without any money and the film was frozen. And Max even had to go bankrupt because he had personal debt. Like he took credit card debts, other loans from the bank, and he had to went bankrupt after 3 days of shooting. And so during this half year that happened between day 3 and day 4, the team helped him. So everybody kind of contributed. DP and production designer, me, myself, some other people, like everybody just organized some extra money to make it happen. And then they got back after half a year because there also was winter in Russia and you couldn't drive on streets. Everything was snow and it was too cold. So they got back like after half year. And the post-production happened even after 1 year after, because then he had to organize more money, like he worked, saved, and finalized it that way.
Wow. Well, if there's any reason to believe in your film, that's a reason. All of the trials and tribulations that he's gone through. So I'm so glad that we are able to show it and to share it with our audience. It's a beautiful product. So just hearing that story alone is is reason enough to come out and support the arts and come see this amazing film.
Thank you.
Yes.
That was a struggle for art from
Yes.
everybody.
Yes, literally. Speaking of literally and figuratively, there seems to me to be lots of metaphors in the films or symbols in the films. And I wonder if you could speak to the pomegranate fruit, and the red,
Yeah,
ripe fruit and the seeds, and then of course the fly on the fruit. That really spoke to me.
Yeah, the fruit comes from Salvador Dali picture that was called The Path to Enigma. There was also kind of story behind that from all these TED Talks and psychiatry study that Max had. And also there was something about Salvador Dali himself. He was also a special person, let's put it that way. This painting was like a central metaphor for the film and one of the inspirations. This is also the hint, because we don't know if what happens in the yellow room, if it's a real space or it's something inside of the mind of the character. And he's putting the poster of the painting on the wall, but then he has also this fruit outside and the bee or the fly. So it's something immersive about that. And I think when you start watching, you don't really understand why is it there. But after you finish your first time watching that and you revisit it from the beginning, then you will discover the second layer. And I think this is what makes it really a strong movie. Now it's a short. And another development of this metaphor is when the main character drives on the car and there is a cut to outdoor space. The way it was built, like this passage, it has a kind of homage to the painting of the Dali. The path itself, the way it was, found on the location, it's kind of in parallel to what we see on the painting. And the production designer really invested time in that, and he struggled to find something super similar. So maybe it's not that straightforward when you see the film, but now after I told you, you will obviously see that.
Well, and I think, a lot of times when you watch, especially on a first time, you watch, sometimes it's not necessarily, you can't explain it or you can't put your finger on it, but it's a feeling. And I think that feeling is very, very strong, especially with the color palette that you all chose. We have the yellow room, and then there's cooler blues, and then more shades of green, and it's very purposeful, those use of colors in the different spaces. So again, it might take a couple different watches to try to connect the dots there, but you definitely feel it. You definitely feel it, and it feels purposeful, those choices. So you want to speak about color in the film?
Yeah, and I'm very happy that you feel that, because I think one of the purposes was to create something on subliminal level.
Mm-hmm.
And now you say it works, and we all will be happy. So the idea with the colors, it came from different people at the same time. I know that both the DP and the production designer were involved, and also Max wanted to have kind of arc, and he wanted to have a POV of the character and also some psychological POV, and they delivered it very artistically, I think, and subtly with the colors. So we have a space where the main character is located. We don't know what's that, and it looks unrealistic and sick because of this yellow color. There was a clear reference from the production designer what kind of yellow he wanted. This guy is very detailed. He will not agree if the shade is a little bit different. So they didn't succeed with the painting, and the yellow was not enough yellow. And then the director of photography, he just bought a kind of colored film, and he put it on the windows. And the light came through the windows, and it had this interesting quality, and it was dispersed in the room, and it didn't look natural. And this is what they wanted. Then if we go to the space where the female neighbor is placed, it's blue. And this is symbol for something more real and pure, and also depressed, because this girl, she has depression. Production designer wanted to use their more organic materials. So the girls' room is furnished with wooden furniture, and they have more natural materials, and they have their flowers on the table. And so still everything may be a little bit dusty, and unsettled, but there is a transient to something more real. So we go from, we don't know where, from mind of the main character to a real place. And the corridor is the hub between the two worlds. And it organically became green, because if you mix yellow and blue, you have green. And there was also something interesting about the shooting, like DP, he used some kind of special lens. I think it's called anthropomorphic, I'm not sure. It's a special lens that with a broad angle, it gives you distorted reality shoot, and it's used in the yellow room. And then there is a dream scene. It happens somewhere else, but it's connected to the female character space. He used Vaseline on filter that he put in front of the lens. It brought kind of blurry quality. Maybe it's not that visible, but I think it does work on subliminal level, as you say now. And also with the sound design, there were interesting takes. Like all the diegetic sounds, they are not placed in natural position in space. All the noises, they are put a little bit in the distance, and they are treated to be deep. So they're not really natural. Also with the doors, like the main character many times slaps the doors. So when he tries to fix his problem, go to corridor, to reach the goal, he opens, slaps the doors. So they recorded something extra. They scratched the doors and put it in the mix. And they also used crocodile roaring sound that was also mixed somewhere here.
Interesting.
So maybe this is what gives you creeps. I don't know. Like all this work together in the end, I think.
That is absolutely fascinating. I love learning about these behind the scenes details. Fascinating. I assume that was pre-recorded sounds and not actual.
They found it somewhere. I don't know. They
Okay.
didn't go to the zoo.
But
No.
yeah, was it Foley? It was wow. Were there any moments during filmmaking production that were totally surprises or things that made you pivot either in a good way or a way you didn't expect?
There is this difficult scene in the end when the car crashes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're supposed to put 80% of the budget into that, and money was
Sure.
over. So we couldn't have a car crash,
Yeah.
and it should have been fixed somehow. So the production designer decided to find a building with arc, and he built from plastic foam. I don't know if it's in English, maybe
Yeah.
panoplex.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
built inside the arc everything from plastic foam and painted that, and it looked like a real wall. And they found the car, they leased the car, so there wasn't even a scratch on that.
Oh,
And they couldn't have the stuntman also only because of their budgeting.
yeah.
So the actor Semyon, he performed everything himself. He was driving, and it was super safe for him. But like Tom Cruise, he performed everything himself, and he crashed the car. And it looked great on the video. It doesn't look like there was some plastic used or anything. It looks like there is a brick wall that falls
Yeah.
apart. And I think this was a great solution, and it's super smart, and it shows that everybody was a professional, though maybe a beginner, but everybody came with kind of solution.
It's amazing the solutions that you can come up to when necessity mandates it. I love that story. I love that. So, Max had written about creating art mainstream, blending accessibility with depth. So, from a producer's standpoint, what does that concept mean to you, and how does this film
I
embody
think
that?
it's a great concept because I think there is a big audience for that, first of all. I think people do miss something deep and beautiful, but maybe not all people like auteur cinema, and not many people want to go after the film feeling suppressed, or when a lot of thoughts are being put on them, they still want to be entertained.
Yeah.
And so when you bring in this genre and entertainment side along with the art, so maybe it's a great combo, I think. So everybody will enjoy in the end. When I read the script, there was a lot of dialogue, and for me, it seemed thick, and like I did connect in a way because it resembled me of the Fight Club,
Yeah.
and it's one of my favorite books and films. But then all this, disorder stuff was a little bit far from me. But when I saw it on screen, and with all these colors and this beautiful, cinematography work, it took the other dimension, and I was really thrilled how beautiful it came. And it didn't look like a film about a weird guy anymore. It was real piece of art. And I think that the actor, he really did a great job, and he brought something that maybe wasn't written. And it's his personality and his craft, and it's really added a lot.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Will this be the first American audience seeing the film?
Yeah, it will be the first screen. Like we did participate in some festivals, but we didn't have screenings in United States. Not in a festival with the screenings when people
Gotcha.
will come and watch.
So, how does that feel to have an American audience viewing this film? Do you feel that the concepts translate? Do you feel like they're universal? You don't have to be Russian to understand this.
It feels great, and also like when we talk to you now, and like your reaction, and you're inspired, and you really appreciate what we talk about. Yeah, that feels great, and I think we didn't plan that. Like Max did want to go internationally, but maybe he was thinking about Europe. Like his dream was to be in Cannes, I don't know, Venice. He didn't really think about the United States. And also the whole team is in Russia, and for them that's just a great distance, to reach. it's very far. It's transatlantic, it's not in
Yeah.
the same area. And I think this is very inspiring. Like your art, travels and transmits the borders. And for me, it's different, but still it's great because I'm in Los Angeles. I have graduated here. Like I worked on American films. But for me, it's very special because this is what was done with Russian team. And still it's travels here. And maybe I feel more connected to the United States than the rest. And maybe this is even more special for me because I did something and it gets recognition. And I want to have my career more here. And this is my very first short. And we talk about that. And I think you're happy to have it in your selection. But it's like that you appreciate the film.
Absolutely. We're happy to have it. We're thrilled to have it. It's definitely a standout a piece. We're grateful that you're taking part in this podcast and sharing your insights. I assume that it's going to be screened be screened at several other festivals. But project wise, is there a new project on the horizon after this?
Yeah, and actually I think he was very tired because it took so long and all this struggle and finance and stuff. And he even kind of maybe let it go with this film until I took on festivals because I wasn't tired and I wanted to struggle for the film to see the light. And now he works on 2 feature films. I think it will be studio films. They still look for support and grants. So if he succeeds, he has 2 feature films next year. One drama thriller, another one is surreal horror. And I'm the composer on them. I also a composer on 2 other features, also thriller, also horror. One is with Mexican director, another one with the guy from United States. So next year, hopefully, if everybody has money, because this is the issue always, so maybe I will be very busy.
That's wonderful. I love hearing that. Well, Anastasia, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast today. And I can't wait to share the film at RFN Indie Fest on November 15th at the Park RVA. And tell everybody how we can keep up with you, with Max, and with what's coming up next.
I think maybe the easiest way is to keep up on Instagram. Mine is easy. It's like my first name, Anastasia. Then I have double underscore and my last name, Listopadova. And we will have all the links there and also the link to the film page and there to the Max page. I think nowadays with social media, you just Google and find each other. You cannot hide anything.
We will absolutely be sharing that. And again, can't wait to show the film on November 15th. And thank you again.
Thank you for having me tonight. And as a team, we are very honored and proud and happy that you gave us this attention. And nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Richmond Film Network Podcast. Thanks to our guest and to you, our listeners, for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share. Tune in next week to see who's on the RFN pod. Until then, keep the cameras rolling.